G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Now to all the single ladies, this video is for you because I'll be talking about singleness. So let's get right into it. So every one of us will be single for a duration of our life, but for many of us girls, being single can often feel like it's a lifetime, and that's because we dream of our wedding day from such a young age. We dream of putting on that wedding dress and meeting our Prince Charming at the end of the aisle, but sometimes, and this may be for some of you out there who are watching, being single can often feel like you have been put on the shelf or you've been forgotten by God because He has not brought anyone along for you, especially as you watch all your friends around you getting married one after the other and perhaps even moving away. And sometimes our times of singleness, when we go through this, we turn to things like online dating, or we turn to perhaps looking at non-Christian guys, or sometimes we feel like we just need to settle for the next guy that comes along, because if we don't, well, we're going to really be on that shelf forever. But we have to remember that singleness is, for most people, really just a temporary state in life, and there really is only, I would say, a very small proportion of people that really choose to perhaps remain single as a permanent state in their life. So as Christians, especially as girls, how do we view this idea of being single? Paul tells us that it is good for the unmarried and for the widows to remain unmarried, and God Himself even commanded one person in the Bible to remain unmarried. However, on the other hand, it was not good for Adam to be alone, so God created a helper suitable for him, and we know that children are a blessing from the Lord. So how do we view this idea of being single? Well, the first passage I want to look at is in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and it's verses 7 to 8, which says, "Yet I wish that all men were even as I myself am. However, each man has his own gift from God, one this way and another that. But I say to the unmarried and to widows that it is good for them if they remain even as I." So in these verses, Paul begins by giving advice to those that are unmarried and states that remaining single is what he preferred. So he's not saying that all believers have to remain single. He's just really stating that remaining single is what he preferred at that particular point of time. And when he's talking about each man having his own gift, he's basically saying that some have the gift of being single while others do not. Now, many scholars tend to believe that Paul himself may have been a widower, and this is because Paul was a Pharisee, and to be a Pharisee you would have to have been married at some point. So there's no real Bible verse that really supports this view that I know of, but I do know that that is what some scholars believe. So just something to, food for thought, I guess. So let's look at how singleness can be good. So turn with me to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and we're looking at verses 32 to 35. And it says, "But I want you to be free from concern. One who is unmarried is concerned about the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But one who is married is concerned about the things of the world, how he may please his wife, and his interests have been divided. The woman who is unmarried and the virgin is concerned about the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and spirit. But one who is married is concerned about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. Now this I say for your own benefit, not to put a restraint upon you, but to promote propriety and undistracted devotion to the Lord." So Paul points out that in this passage, as a single person, you have undistracted devotion to the Lord. So this means that you as a single person are free to do the things that you want to do for the Lord. You are free to make your own decisions. You do not have to consult anyone. You do not have other obligations to think about, but you are free to go and make all these other decisions that you want to do, and you may feel like certain opportunities open up for you that you want to take. You're not having to consult anyone for that, but you're free to make those decisions on your own. And that's not saying that married people can't do things for the Lord. It just means that when you're married, your obligations are divided because you also have a family. You either have a husband or a wife to think about as well. I guess if I was to think about the time when I was single, I used to do things for the church such as play on the band. I would play on the music band. I used to play the violin. So I would do that a lot of the times on Sunday evenings. I would help with youth group. I would also help with the technology side of things. So, the projection, making sure that certain slides, were changing as the sermons were being preached or as songs were sung, making sure that the words were coming up on the screen as they should be, those sorts of things. Sometimes it was just helping prepare meals for certain church meetings or activities. So those sorts of things, I was free to say yes when I wanted to. I didn't have other obligations that I needed to worry about. And a lot of the time when you are single, you are using your time of singleness to either go to university, study, chase a career perhaps. And while those things are all good and well, I certainly don't have a problem with any of that, but we just need to keep in mind that being single is really so we can devote our time to the Lord. Now, the next Bible verse I want to look at is the one in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, which says, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose." So we know that God works for good in all things, and it may just be that God is using your singleness so that you can work on developing yourself, developing your character, changing yourself before he goes on to give you a husband. So just remember that singleness is not always a bad thing. You can see it as a time of personal growth as well. Sometimes there are girls out there who go from one relationship to another. They can't handle being single. And maybe if you're at a point that you are single, maybe God is using you at that time so that you can just focus on yourself, focus on him, devote your time and all your resources to God so that you can become perhaps more Christ-like, more holy. We all need work, but maybe sometimes God is using your singleness as a good thing so that you can grow in him and grow closer to him. Now let me take you to a passage in the Bible where God points out and commands one particular person to remain unmarried, and we're looking at the book of Jeremiah chapter 16 verses 1 to 2. "The word of Yahweh also came to me saying, you shall not take a wife for yourself, nor have sons or daughters in this place." So here we read that Jeremiah was forbidden to marry, and that was because of the impending destruction that was happening during that time. So even in the Bible, being single was rare. So just keep that in mind, ladies. Being single in the Bible was rare. Remaining unmarried was rare. So just remember that it's really, for the majority of us, it's really just a temporary stay in life that we are going through. So if you're someone who is really struggling with this season of singleness in life, there are numerous Bible passages that can give you comfort during this time. Now, I want to end with just a couple of verses. So the first one is in Colossians chapter 3, and it's verse 15. And it says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful." And 2 Thessalonians 3:16, "Now may the Lord of peace himself continually give you peace in every circumstance. The Lord be with you all." So just remember that this season of singleness for most of us is really just a temporary state of life. For most of us, it will not be forever. I know it's hard. I know that waiting can often be are hard, but just remember that there are many comforting verses in the Bible to help get you through this season of life. I do hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave me a comment below. I love to read your comments, and I do hope and pray that God gives you the peace that transcends all understanding during this season of singleness. Thank you so much for watching. You'll see me next time. Bye bye.